In order to effectively hard tissue chart, you need the mouth, your hard tissue charting legend, red and blue erasable pens or pencils, your hard tissue chart, oftentimes on a perio chart, and radiographs are very helpful also. Hard tissue charting this case, starting on the maxillary arch, we're going to start on tooth number 2. Tooth number 2 you can tell is composite. It does include the mesial portion of the tooth, the occlusal portion of the tooth. I can still see some of the buccal enamel, so it does not include the buccal, but it does spill over onto the lingual. So we'll call this an MOL composite. Then you'll go to your hard tissue chart, you'll find something that is also composite. So for example, tooth number 13 has an MOD composite. If I go to 13, I can see that it's charted as an open circle. So now I can go to tooth number 2 and I can fill in that this is an MO and includes the lingual as well. Next is tooth number 3. I'm going to call out that this is tooth number 3. It is an amalgam filling, and although the amalgam comes to the mesial portion of the tooth, I can still see enamel on the mesial. It does not go into the interproximal space, and it doesn't anywhere else except for the occlusal. So this is an occlusal amalgam filling tooth number 3. I can see that the legend also shows an occlusal amalgam on tooth number 3. So if I go to tooth number 3, I can see that it's a filled in circle, and I come over to tooth number 3 and fill in that circle. Doesn't need to match exactly what's on the tooth. The important thing is that I'm not touching any of the sides, so when it goes to be called out to an instructor, I know this is only an occlusal amalgam filling. I next go to tooth number 4. I can tell that the pits and grooves are not as deep. The tooth color looks a little bit different, and I know that this is a crown, a porcelain crown. If I check the buccal view, I can confirm that this does look like a porcelain crown. I can see the tissue is a little inflamed. It looks a little dark at the margin, and I believe this to be a porcelain fused to metal crown. And again, I can see a little bit of that darkness here. Again, looks like a porcelain fused to metal crown, and you can confirm that on your radiographs. Your legend shows a porcelain fused to metal crown, tooth number 7. So if I go to tooth number 7, it looks like a porcelain fused to metal crown is outlined with dots. So then I go back to tooth number 4 and I will chart it as such. Tooth number 5, I can tell is a composite, and I can tell that it is covering the occlusal for sure. It does waterfall or spill over the edge into the distal surface, but on the mesial I can see some enamel on that outer edge. So this is a DO composite. We'll make sure that on tooth number 5 we do touch the distal in our charting, but none of the other surfaces, and it is not colored in. Remember that existing work is charted in blue and suspicious areas are charted in red. In looking at these amalgam fillings, you can see this tooth, this filling, number 12, is touching the distal, but not the mesial. So this is a DO amalgam filling, number 12. Number 13, MOD amalgam. Number 14, occlusal amalgam. And that's how you'll call those out in your charting. In charting those teeth, you're going to make sure if you're filling out an occlusal, again, that you're not touching any of the other surfaces. These were amalgams, so they're filled in. So 14 was an occlusal. Number 13 was an MOD. So you're going to make sure that your lines touch the outer surfaces of that tooth, the mesial and the distal, so that you can indicate that is an M. It's touching the mesial, occlusal, and distal. And number 12 was a DO. So you're going to make sure it's not touching the mesial in your charting.